It's your open source advocate, and I'm back with another video, and today I wanted to tell you about XPipe. This may just be the best connection tool you're going to find. This thing is incredible. I came across this just looking at some other topics, and I just thought, what in the world is this? I had to look at it a little bit more. Now at first, if you first just read the description, you might think, oh, this is a terminal emulator, but it's not. This is a connection hub. What this does is it gives you the ability to set up different connections, SSH, SFTP, whatever it happens to be. It's a connection to a remote machine, and it says, hey, what kind of connections do you want to have? What kind of control do you want to have over this machine? So I've been using it, and it's just absolutely incredible, and the power behind it is amazing. So you get this thing set up, and it gives you these different connection types for the different machines that you add to it. So you have a remote server somewhere, you set it up, and you get shell access. Now that can use whatever terminal is built into the machine you're in front of. If you have multiple terminals and you have a favorite, you can tell it, I want you to use this terminal emulator application when I tell you to open up a terminal connection to that machine. And it will open up an SSH connection to that machine using the terminal emulator you have selected. Super easy, super fast, really cool. But the other part, now I know you could just do an SSH, you could just tell it to remember, you could create a shortcut, you could use Tabby, you could do so many different ways to get that done. I get it. But there is more to this. If you have Docker running on that remote server, it will connect to your Docker instance, and it will let you actually control those different Docker containers from the user interface. It will also jump you into those Docker containers in the CLI. So if you need to get in there in the command line and do something inside the Docker container, this will put you right in it. You don't have to go do the whole command line thing of docker exec-it/bin/bash, whatever the container name is, or whatever the command is. You just click this, you tell it, I want to jump into it, and it jumps you into it. Would you rather use a file explorer, folder, drag and drop, copy, paste type interface, even with SSH? You can totally do that from this. It will open up an SSH command line. It will open up the file explorer. It will do it for your terminal. It will do it for your remote servers. It will do it for your Docker containers. It will do it for your LXD containers. It does not matter what you're connecting to. It can give you that type of access where you're really looking at the folder and file structure and not having to write commands. Maybe you prefer to click and do things. Maybe that makes more sense for your use case, and that is awesome because this gives it to you. XPipe is really an awesome tool. I am super excited to tell you about this one. I think this is one of those tools that a lot of you guys out there are going to be like, oh my gosh, how have I gone so long without a tool like this? I've been thinking that because it is really an amazing tool. It could replace potentially Pertainer. It could replace Tabby. It could replace a lot of things. Now, Tabby is a great tool, but it's an Electron app and it's pretty heavy, so if you don't have the machines to run it, it makes it kind of hard. I love Terminator, but keeping my saved stuff and having that in Tabby was really great, but this also has things for scripts. This has all kinds of really cool plugins that Tabby gave me, but I could use Terminator with that. So that excites me. That makes me super happy to understand that this thing is out there and know that I can use it. So we're going to go through all of the little things that I can show you about it. There's going to be a lot more to it, obviously. I cannot cover every single thing about it, but I want to show you the really, really cool stuff about XPipe and then let you dig in and find some of the even more cool stuff that you're going to love. It's open source. It's Apache 2.0 licensed. It is really awesome. Now, they do have, if you're a professional, their ask is, hey, use this for your personal service, your non-commercial use, things like that. But if you're a professional and you're using this on tens of thousands of servers, or even hundreds or thousands of servers as a professional, help us out. They have pricing here for the professional. It's got a few extra things, which is great. They have support. They have all kinds of really cool stuff that you can get here. It's a really nice little thing. You can use the community version. They're just asking like, hey, if you're using this, please make it non-commercial. But if you're going to use it for commercial use, we ask that you pay. And it's $49.99 a year. So keep this in mind. This says kind of once, it means once per year. Or $4.99 a month if you want to do it that way. But you get updates, you get support, you get all kinds of things here, and they can tell you all kinds of great stuff that you get about it. There's frequently asked questions that can help you kind of understand how does the pricing work, how does the licensing work, those kind of things. Really useful, but understand, like if you love this tool, if you want this tool to continue, and you're a professional, please consider giving these guys a little bit of money to help continue this tool, because it's really, really cool. I think you're going to love it. On the community side, for these guys, if you don't have a way for me just to donate to you as a person who just uses this for my personal servers, please think about adding that to your GitHub page. I'll go check your GitHub page just to make sure. But yeah, definitely, if you don't have it, please put it, because I would like to support this project as well, even as a community user. I think it's really cool. We're going to get into the installation, the use of it, everything like that right after this. I want to say thank you to all of my subscribers and all of my patrons over at Patreon. Seriously, you guys make this so worth it for me to do these videos every week. I really, truly enjoy it, and I just can't say thank you enough. If you're enjoying these videos, subscribe. Let YouTube know that I'm doing a good job by subscribing to the channel. Plus, you'll get notified when I have new videos coming out. And finally, if you're enjoying what I'm doing, give it a like. Just click on that thumbs up, and that way YouTube knows that you like it, and they'll pass it along to other people that might enjoy my content as well. I really appreciate it. Thank you again. Let's get started. In order to get XPipe, we're going to go right up here to the download option, and you'll see several different options here. So you've got installers, you've got portable installations. So for those of you who like the portable applications, you do have those options as well. You've got package managers, which again, Windows, Linux, Mac OS, always useful. And then you've got the command line if you prefer to do it that way. So we start looking at the installers. Of course, you want to look for the distribution of Linux that you have, or the operating system that you have. Again, if it's Windows, here's the Windows installer for x86 64. So again, you want to match up your hardware type to the type of install you want to do. They do have ARM 64 versions as well. For those of you that are Raspberry Pi fans, you do have the option to put XPipe on Raspberry Pi also. I happen to be running Fedora, so I'm going to go here for the Linux RPM installer. Just going to click on that. You'll see it's going to download the file up here. It's not a very big file. It downloads pretty quickly. Now that we've got it, I can just click on it here, and it's going to open up my software center essentially. It's going to load that up. It's going to look for the information. Just click on install. I'm going to put in my password to make sure that I'm allowed to install software, of course. And the installation is going to begin. And once it's complete, you'll see something like this. Now, this was the graphical user interface method. It is completely up to you if you want to use that. If you're on Debian, of course, you would get the deb and do the same thing. It would probably work exactly the same way with a software center. If you're on Ubuntu, you would also use the .deb. If you're on Red Hat, CentOS, you can use the RPM. If you're on OpenSUSE, you could try the RPM as well. So on Mac OS, you've got the package installer. And then again, if you wanted to do like portable installations, you can just run this without having to actually fully install it. So it's going to come down more like an app image. You also have the package manager option, so you could go and look in your package manager to see what's available, see what versions available of XPipe, and then you've got the command line options too. So there's lots of different ways to do this, but for me this is a very straightforward, simple way to get things installed. Now that we've got it installed, let's open it up and take a look at what we can do with it. The first time you run XPipe, you should be greeted with a page like this, and they basically tell you what's going on. They give you a little welcome screen. You've got the end user license agreement. If you want to go ahead and read through that, you absolutely can. Once you accept that, just like always, check the box, click confirm, and you'll be greeted with this page here. Once you've got this page, this is where you really start to work. So you're going to start putting in the different machines that you want to connect to. Now there's some navigation over here on the right side of the screen. This is going to be important here in a little bit. But for now, we just need to connect up a machine. Now this also has some settings so that you can get some dark theming and stuff like that going on. So let's go do that first while I don't blind you with the entire presentation here. So here you can pick which editors you want to use. So if I wanted to open a text file, this would open it in GNOME text editor. But if you wanted to change that, you can change that here and kind of pick which text editor you want. You want to make sure that you have this editor installed and that the application can find the path to that editor. But for me, the default is fine for just doing real quick text edits. You can test it just by clicking the button. This is going to open up the GNOME text editor, and there it is. It opened it up. Really simple. It says test. You can just close it back down. So it has an editor reload timeout that's set to 1000 milliseconds, so you can set that lower if you want to, but that's 1 second essentially. And it says prefer to open new tabs. So if you open up the text editor and you open more than one document in that text editor, it'll open them in new tabs instead of opening up a new window every time. Same kind of settings for the terminal. So this is where I really like this, because it's not a terminal emulator in itself. It just uses the one that you want. So in this case, it's defaulted to the GNOME terminal, but it has a lot of other options. Again, whichever one you pick, you need to make sure you have that installed and that the system can find that to open it. So I like Terminator, but that means that now I need to go install Terminator for my terminal emulator. But once I do, then it's going to be able to open that. If I run the test right now, it's going to fail and it's going to tell me, hey, I couldn't find that. So I need to go get it installed and then I can come back and test it again. For now, I should just leave it on the default GNOME terminal because that's what's installed. And again, if I test that, it's going to open it up and say, hey, I opened up your terminal. There you go. So a nice little feature there to help you figure out which terminal emulator you like the best and make sure that you're choosing the one that you want to use. Finally, here's some information and places where you can go look for answers if you have any problems or need to try to troubleshoot anything that's going on with the system. So this is kind of all the settings that you need to know about. We're going to get into actually setting up some connections. Alright, so of course the first thing you want to do is actually add some connections to XPipe. So we're going to just set this up here. We're going to just do new, and when you do this, you're going to see that you get a few different options. So initially I'm just going to set up some SSH connections, so I'm just going to call this a remote host. It's going to come up, now always on mine it comes up kind of small like this, but you can expand this window pretty easily from the corner there, as you can see. So we'll go back over here. This is going to set up an SSH connection, but again, you can choose if you want this to be a PowerShell connection instead. Definitely feel free to switch that if you're a Windows user. If you have a gateway that you've already set up that you need to use to make that connection, you can choose it from here or set it up here, but I don't have one, so we can just move down to the next section here. On the host, you want to put in the IP address of the host you want to connect to. So let's just do my first Docker server that I use. And it's a local system, so port 22 is correct for SSH, and then the username, we're going to type that in right there. If you have keys set up, that's a plus, it'll use the keys, but if you don't, it also wants you to set up some kind of password authentication. So in this case, I'm just going to choose password, and then I'll type in the password for my user as well. And as you move down on the keyboard-based authentication, you can choose none if you want to. So I'm just going to choose none. You do have the option for none here as well if you want to choose that. You don't have to use the password, but I'm going to do it as a backup just in case. And then you can give this just a connection name. So I'm just going to call this ubdocker1, and we're just going to hit save. So this is going to go out and it's going to start trying to make these connections for us, and we can kind of see what it's doing. And it gives us this nice little pop-up that says, hey, here's the connection that you're making, and here are the different connection types that we can try to navigate and basically associate to this connection. So it's got Docker containers, great. It's got root shell environment, which you can leave it checked if you want to, but depending on if you have root login enabled, it may or may not work. So I would say if you don't have root login enabled, this probably isn't going to work anyway, so you can just uncheck that. Available shells is one that I would say leave checked. LXD containers, I don't have any LXD containers on it, but if you want that and you use those, then you might want to leave that one checked as well. And then SSH config files. And then of course you can do the select all. So you can uncheck that to unselect them all. You can recheck it to select them all. It's easier just to uncheck one thing if you only have one thing you don't want to include. I'll uncheck the LXD containers also because I don't have any. And I'm just going to hit OK. And up here you see it starts working, and it actually goes out to try to make that connection for us. And then it's going to pop up with everything that it finds. So it actually goes out and says, hey, what all's on this system? So you can see here, just with the shell, I've got either the SH shell or the dash shell. Whichever one you prefer to use is fine, and you can kind of see what's going on here, but it gives you a check mark for the things that it has, which is great. But under Docker, it sees all of my different Docker containers that I'm running on that system. So I can just kind of scroll down through all of these different containers that are running. And if I said, you know what, I want to connect to one of these. So here, like for iSpy, I can open up the folder, and that's going to open it up inside the container. And you can see here I've got different folder structures, and these are inside of the container itself. This is not just on the file system of the host, this is actually inside the container. Now I can go and click through these different things to see what all I'm finding. So I've got different options here that have been mounted, and I can click into root, I can see what's there. There's a few things there, but nothing that I need to really be using. So once you're into that, you're doing pretty well, just to be able to get in and do things, maybe copy files, move files, stuff like that. Lots of really great access there. I can close that, and I can go back over here to the left, and you'll see your different machines that are listed. So again, it's going to open it back up in that shell. So once you go into this kind of folder structure, you get these different options for what you can click into. In this case, this gave me the folder structure of the host. So here's my different structures, and I can go into Home Brian, and it's going to show me everything that's there. But then I can also look at the Docker folder, which is here. And once I go into that Docker folder, of course, you can see all of the Docker folders for my containers that I have. So it's really easy to navigate this thing. And when you're done, you can just click the X. Now, if you want to get back to where you were, you come over here to the right side and you just click on this, and you'll see all of your connections again. So really easy to jump into your Docker containers and do things. By the same token, if I just want to open up the shell, I can just click on the row, and it opens up the shell right into the Docker container. So if I do an ls here, you'll see that it's going to have all of the different files and folder structure of the container itself. It is not just the host. This is actually jumping you right into the container to do anything you want to do inside of that container. So really quick access to jump into the shell inside the container as well. I'm just going to close that. And so you can just close this up if you don't want to see everything there. Now, if I want to get to the host, I can just click on this one, and it's going to open up this on my host machine. And again, I can do an ls, and you can see that I've actually gotten into my home directory there on the host, and I can do all of the things that I want to do. Now, of course, this is just a regular GNOME shell, so I can just expand this and make it a little bit larger so you guys can see actually what's going on. We can clear the terminal here. We can maybe do bash. There we go. We get our bash shell if we do that. It doesn't give us bash out of the box for some reason. It's a little bit odd to me, but that's fine. Typing bash isn't that hard. And I can do ls, and we can do Control L, and it clears it for us just like it should. So we really get some great functionality out of that terminal, and it's really easy to jump in there and do something very quickly. It gives you that nice quick connection to whatever you're trying to do. So this is one of my systems here, very easy to get into. And again, if I want to go back to that file folder structure, I can just click here on the left, and I can jump over here and jump into the folder structure that way, or I can expand this, and I can actually see the different things that are under it. So here's the different shell environments that I might want to jump back into. So yeah, really clean. If I open up the dash, it's just going to say, hey, here's the shell environment for dash, and really simple. And you get a lot of functions on this. So if you look over here, you can click, and you've got some different options here. So you can say open this up as root, and it's gonna prompt you. So let's go look at. In fact, let's go back and do some things a little bit different. We're gonna go into one of my main folders here. So let's go up. It's gonna keep continuing up. So here I've got a bunch of media that I've mounted, and it uses that mount point. So I'm going to click on mount, and I'm going to click on data, and I'm going to click on media, and let's click on music. And so here's a bunch of music media. Now this is not owned by me, so I'd have to open this as root. So if I go here and I say open as root, it goes and it opens up as root. So now I've got these things open as root, and I can actually take actions on them from here, from the file manager, as just like I would want to do anything else where I'd have to do it through the command line using sudo. In this case, it's just open it up, and I've got permission to do what I need to do to it. And when I'm finished, I can close this down, and I'm back to where I was, where it's the non-root user. So these little tabs open up here at the top, and it lets you take, basically jump in and out of these different folder structures. They're really nice. So as we go back over here, we've got all this stuff, and all you do is go through and keep adding these things. Very straightforward to get something added to the system. Now this is not just limited to this setup where you've got these different things that you're setting up manually, but look over here. When you go to new, you've got your remote host, you've got your shell environment, you've got custom commands that you can set up. You can connect to databases to do different things to databases as well. You've got tunnels that you can create, and you've got scripts. So if we go here to custom command, so this is going to let you set up another connection, but it's going to let you also enter a custom command that's going to be run whenever you make that connection. So it could be very useful depending on what kind of things you need to do whenever you make certain connections to certain machines. On the scripts side, let's go back down to here, scripts. If you have any script dependencies, other scripts that you need to run first, you can set those up here. When you come down and it says shell type, you can kind of choose what shell type do you want the script to run in. Do you want it to be a PowerShell script or a bash script? Do you want it to be a command line thing that you're going to run? You can kind of go through here and pick that so that as you move down, then you can actually write the script information that you want to have run. So you'd write out your script here. So you have some different options of when this will run. It says dumb only, terminal only, and both. In this case, it has terminal only selected automatically, so that's probably where you're going to want to put that most of the time. If there's a group that you need to have set up for this script, you can set up script groups and actually save them in groups. And then, of course, you've got a name that you can give to the script so you can find it easily. So you can set up a script that's going to run on the system whenever you connect to it, and then you can actually run this script on multiple systems, so it becomes a really powerful tool, a really useful tool. And if you're thinking about Windows and running updates on Windows machines all at once using PowerShell scripting, again, a super powerful tool to be able to do something like that, and really great that it's built in this way. So some really awesome stuff going on with XPipe here. So let's go back. Let's just add one more server here. I'll add it as a remote host again. Most of my servers are just remote host type servers. So I'm just going to go here and we'll put in the host. Again, it is port 22, put in my user. I already have my keys on it, but I'll go ahead and save this as password just in case. And then down here, I can pick none again. And then here, I'm going to call this ubdocker2, and I'll save that. And again, it's going to go out and make that connection. Then it's going to pop up and ask again, what kind of connections what kind of access do you want to have on this thing? So I'm going to say not root shell, but I'll leave the LXD on this time, and you'll kind of see what it does. So it's going to go out, it's going to search for all the things that it can find. It's going to show me all the Docker containers that it finds on that server that are running, which again, it's a lot. It's because I have Nextcloud AIO running, so it runs a lot of containers there. But I can see all of the Docker containers now. LXD, it says, okay, I've connected and I see the LXD service, but you don't have anything for me to show you, so there's nothing for LXD to be doing right there. Now you can refresh. If you feel like it missed something, you can refresh. It'll go out and try to look again and see if it finds something, but it may not. So just, of course, if you don't have anything running, it's not going to. Again, you've got your shell options here. So another really, just a really great, quick way to jump into these things and kind of go take actions and do the things that you need to do. So if I go down here and say, you know what, I don't want Trago running right now. I just need to stop it. I can stop Trago from running. And you can see right here that it says it exited. But then I say, okay, I'm ready to start it back up. I can just click on the start button. It's going to start it back up and it's running. So you've got some really great power here, so you can stop things from here, go do whatever actions you need to do, and then start them back up. Really super useful to be able to do something like this. And so maybe you're somebody who says, you know what, I need to edit the Docker Compose file on Trago. I'm just going to stop it. We'll let it stop, and then I'm going to go up here. Now I want to do the Docker Compose file from the host, so I'm going to go here and I'm just going to open this up. And it's going to open it up on the host. I'm going to go here. Go into my Docker folder. I'm going to find my Trago folder. And here's my Docker Compose.yaml file. You can right click and you can say edit in the GNOME text editor. So when I do that, it's going to open up that file right here in my text editor and my graphical user interface. I can go through, make any changes that I want to make, save that thing, and then close it out. And then I can go back over here and close access to that. Go back in here and just go right back down here to Trago and hit play, and it's going to start it back up and it's going to be running again. So it's going to take all my changes and rerun and start that machine running again. I mean, just really, really super straightforward and simple. It makes it so powerful to have such a nice little graphical user interface. It's very cool. I like this a lot, and I think for you IT professionals that have to monitor and manage a lot of machines and you've been looking for something that's fast, clean, and easy to use, this could be the tool for you. I'd love for you to get out there and check it out. Let me know what you think about it. I hope you enjoyed this. This is XPipe. It's a really awesome tool and I'm excited about it. Make sure to get out there and support them. If you really like the tool, get out there and support them. It's so worthwhile to make sure that your open source tools are going to remain and stay around. Hope you enjoyed this. If you did, like, subscribe, tell your friends about it so they can come along on the open source journey with us, and I'll talk to you next time. It's your open source advocate, and I'm back, and I've set up a store with a little bit of merchandise. I love being your open source advocate, but I want you guys to be the open source advocates with me. So if you want to, get out there and get some of this stuff. And if you do, let me know what you think of it. Thank you for subscribing.